My name is Megan James, and I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in and welcome to the Megan James Show. So the purpose of our show is to provide personal development, ideas, advice, and tips, as well as business help and advice to entrepreneurs. We are so passionate about helping our local businesses, so most of our interviews are actually with local successful business owners. And when I say local, they're local to the Kernersville, Triad, North Carolina area. So we want to boost the local economy as well as provide real actionable advice for you guys, our listeners, the future and current business owners listening to this show. So without further ado, here's our show. Hey guys, welcome back to the Megan James Show. We're happy to have you. Today we are doing a continuation of our series that we started last podcast episode. So this is actually going to be part 2 of 5 regarding your relationship and getting closer to the person you're in your relationship with. And so far we've gone over some pretty vital things. If you haven't listened to that last episode, you might want to tune in. It might make all of this make a little bit more sense. But we've gone over things like honesty, respect, your dreams for each other, real love, what it is, what it isn't, etc., etc. Now, what we haven't talked about are arguments. Holy crap, because all couples argue, and sometimes often, but sometimes not so often. So every couple is different, and not every couple can treat their arguments the same way. But disagreements happen, right? They come up, but they're not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, many very, very happy couples occasionally have ferocious and raw and, real arguments, and it's not a problem. For me, I can say that that's not really my way. That's not really Laura's way. So when we argue, it's not a ferocious battle. If we disagree, we are usually quick to come to a compromise that suits us both, to where both of us can be happy. And that didn't come overnight. It sure as fuck didn't come overnight for me. I've had to work really, really, really hard, and I've had to learn from a lot of bad relationships to really make this one stick. And I think the same can be said for Laura. She's used her experience in other relationships. And, we're a melting pot of our experiences. So we are where we are today because of the experiences that we've had in our past. But you need to be honest with yourself about what kind of arguments you generally have. Are they the good sort of ferocious rows that you have, or are they underpinned by genuine liking and respect for each other? You want to make sure that when you're having these disagreements, when you're having arguments, that you still like each other and you still respect one another. You just disagree on a certain topic. And you can get these issues off your chest, but at the same time, you have to know where the boundaries are. This argument can't cause lasting hurt or carry on for hours. So you have to know where these boundaries lie, right? And you have to make sure that this argument doesn't cause lasting hurt and it doesn't carry on for hours. When one of you makes that peace move, it's a word or a gesture, or a look that says, all right, I'm done, let's stop, come on. Usually the other person should respond by softening. But sometimes, however, arguments are a symptom of something wrong with a relationship, right? So this is what I want to get to today, is the fact that arguments aren't necessarily a bad thing, but they can be a sign of something bigger going on in your relationship. So we need to get to the bottom of that. So let's talk about sometimes when you might want to start worrying when it comes to arguments. One, you end up simply swapping insults. That's not very good, right? You don't want to insult your partner. Something you say could last and could cause a great deal of hurt. Number 2, the argument goes on for hours or even days. When me and Laura argue, it may be, 15 minutes, and then I'm done. She's done. We're done. We're over it. So if it's lasting for hours or days, there's something underpinning that. There's something going on that maybe you guys haven't really noticed, and just the argument is a breakout of what you guys haven't, come to terms with in your relationship. So it looks like you may need to do some introspection there. Number 3, a serious argument occurs every week or even more often. That's potentially problematic. Once a week, well, that could be kind of concerning for a number of reasons. You don't really have a whole lot of highs, because as soon as you start to get high in your relationship, bam, argument happens and there's a big low. So you start becoming addicted to that high and low roller coaster, which we talked about in the previous episode. It's not something you're looking for. So maybe kind of figure out what is the precursor for that argument. Is it the same thing over and over and over? Is it caused by, misalignments in money and communication? What is it? Get to the bottom of that. So number 4, hurtful things are said, which you deeply regret. And we talked about that. That can come as an insult or anything else. Number 5, language is cutting, cruel, critical, or contemptuous. So demeaning language, talking to your partner like they're less than you. Number 6, you ignore each other's attempts to diffuse that argument. Number 7, walking away for half an hour doesn't cool you down. That's a big one. Sometimes I go on a walk or I have to exercise after an argument, and I'm good after that. After I get those endorphins up, I'm good. But if that still doesn't cool you down, then there's a bigger problem that you need to face. Number 8, violence, including slamming doors, throwing things, and hitting or hurting yourself or the other person, is a feature of your arguments, guys. That's never a good thing. To take your arguments, your hatred out on your partner or yourself. You can't have those feelings towards one another and still have an ideal relationship. It's okay to have a disagreement, to not always agree, but like I said before, you still should have an underlining love, affection, and respect for your partner. If you find yourself assaulting yourself or assaulting your partner or damaging your house or other property, then there's a good chance something else is at play and you need to pay closer attention to that. In a healthy argument, you may shout sometimes. You may argue, you may stomp around, but you should not ever get violent or blurt out things and that afterwards you're kind of like seriously regret. Criticisms and contempt, they can undermine any relationship. When these creep in, restoring goodwill, love, and kindness becomes harder and harder. So, like with all of the steps in the last podcast, we're going to go over some things that you can do, some exercises, some advice, and I'm also going to put a PDF with this episode as well. You can find that on our Patreon account. The last one I made available for tier 2, but I'm thinking about changing that and making it open to your entry-level Patreon members, which is available for just $5 a month, guys. This could be critical marriage counseling or relationship counseling that you and your partner need. And this workbook is to be used when following along with this podcast episode. We have one for the last episode. We're going to have one for this one and all the ones after this. And it's just something that you can go through and check off how many of those apply to you. And then, out of that, in the workbook, it'll tell you what this can mean for your relationship and what you can do to help fix that. So make sure that before starting this episode, you have that workbook. $5 a month, guys, gets you access. And I should preface this by saying that $5 a month doesn't just give you the content that was put out for that month. It's actually everything that's ever been posted on our Patreon account for that tier. So it's a Dow bargain, guys. $5 a month and you have immediate access to all the extra stuff that we put out there that's not on our website, that's not on our social media page, and it's not even in this podcast episode. So a lot of extra stuff that can really help you not only in business, but your relationships, as you can see, and your health practices. We even have stuff for exercising, supplementation, things like that. We're going to have a lot more of that in the future, but just go check it out. I don't think you'll be disappointed. But let's get back to this. So if you are endlessly arguing about the same subject, look at it. Look at it hard. Okay? Is it something that can be resolved in which you'll both have to learn to live with, like a compromise? If so, you need to go ahead and agree, to differ and deal with your own feelings about it in an adult way. So maybe another example would be like your partner doesn't like your mother, or you want your partner to like your mother. Okay, well, this can't be resolved immediately. Maybe not at all. Although, when and how you see your mother can. So accept your partner's feelings and deal with your own hurt and disappointment in an adult way. Maybe you should talk to a friend, write in a journal, book a session with a counselor. Guys, counselors are a godsend. Seriously. Just because you're seeing a relationship counselor or a marriage counselor doesn't mean there's anything wrong with your relationship at all. It just means you want to make sure that you keep it alive, that you're nursing it, that you're doing all the extra stuff that you need to be doing to keep your relationship blooming and blossoming. But yes, so say your partner doesn't like your mom. Okay, maybe your partner is like, look, your mom is condescending, or I don't like the way she treats me, or I don't like the way she treats you. You can accept that that's how your partner sees your mom. And even though you don't see your mom that way, your partner does. You have to meet them where they are and accept them and say, hey, look, I get that's how you feel. And it hurts me deep that you feel that way about my mom. But I'm going to work to try to help this. But I know it can't be fixed overnight. But it would mean a lot to me if that wasn't your view forever. And then talk to your mom. If it's something that your mom is doing behind your back, or, something that you didn't realize was going on because it's your mom and sometimes we're blind to family, have a conversation with your mom, right? But maybe your regular argument is about something else that can be resolved quickly and simply. Maybe it's something like taking responsibility for certain household chores or tasks or managing money. If that's the case, choose a time when you're both in a good mood to sit down and go over these solutions and resolutions. It'd be a whole lot of negotiation skills, communication skills, but say money, budgets can cause serious friction in a relationship, whether married or otherwise. This should be a critical point you focus on at least once a week in your relationship, and it shouldn't be an argument. You guys should sit down when you're both in a good mood and say, all right, let's go ahead and just take a look at our finances, balance our checkbook, reconcile our bank statements, whatever. Figure out where we stand right now this week. And every week you should be taking a second to really hone in on that. So at the end of the month, it's not a surprise. You're not missing bills. This is crucial, and it'll keep you from having future fights. Make sure your arguments aren't damaging to your relationships. Okay, so moving on, that was step 7. Step 8, letting go. Today is the day we focus on cultivating a skill which will be enormously useful to creating a strong and happy, healthy relationship. It's the ability to let things go. Learning to walk away from conflict and to feel that whatever's at stake really doesn't matter too much will put your relationship on a firm foundation. It sounds really simple, so why can't we do it all the fucking time? Well, because in a conflict, we almost always have a big investment in being right. We're convinced that if we can only get the other person to see our point of view, they will have to concede. The trouble is they usually feel the exact same way. So that leads to these conflicts, these arguments and discord and so on. So a big portion of this is ego, guys. Your ego is eating at you saying, no, fucker, you're right, they're wrong. You've got to make them see your side so they'll know they're wrong and you're right, and they'll have to accept that your way is the right way. So we're actually going to do an exercise for this. I want you to think of your last 3 arguments in your relationship and who was right. Do you believe it was you? Or do you believe it was your partner? Now ask your partner the same question. Your partner will probably say it was them, that they were the one that was right. This is a super interesting exercise to do with your partner, and it's eye-opening to how we subjectively see things. And seeing it through someone else's lens can really make you reanalyze your behavior, your language that you use towards your partner, and these actual arguments. Just dissect them at their core. So the solution to this apparently no-win situation is just simply to let go of it and let go of the need to be right. It becomes easier when you realize that there is seldom an absolutely right or wrong, right? But only really different points of view. Like I said, seeing things through a different lens. If you asked 100 people at random about your argument, half of them might agree with you and half of them might agree with your partner. Also remember that most conflicts seem unimportant a few hours or days later. So what if your partner had their hair cut too short, in your opinion? Or if you packed too many clothes in the suitcase, in your partner's opinion? After all, it hardly matters in the great scheme of things, right? So let's pay more attention to why this is causing friction. Why does this seem like such a big deal to yourself or your partner? It might be a clue that something bigger is at play, that maybe that small thing that doesn't seem to really matter right now is actually hitting at something bigger. So let's talk about ways we can let go. Number 1, when your partner upsets you, take a deep breath, count to 10, or just try to put some space between you for, say, a half hour or so. Number 2, persuade yourself that this probably won't matter in a few days' time. Number 3, if possible, look for a funny side to the argument. If you can both start laughing, I promise you it is going to release the tension. It's hard to have an argument when you're both laughing till you're crying. And I would much rather you guys be crying out of laughter than out of anger or resentment or hurt. Number 4, decide to be generous and let your partner be right. If you can just say, okay, you win, let's stop now, your partner's going to be so surprised that they'll automatically decide you were right after all. And so you both win. Number 5, agree to postpone the argument while you both do something else. Reschedule it to a couple hours later. Chances are you'll no longer want to do it. I've found this is actually, it works. So if I see things are escalating too quickly, I'm like, hey, look, I think we need to take a breather. I'm going to go work out or play some basketball, shoot some hoops, or, I'm big into flipping things on eBay. I'm just going to go flip some shit. I don't know. And, she'll go either work out or, hang with the dogs or watch TV. And then we'll reschedule an argument for 2 hours from then. And suddenly it doesn't seem like that big a deal and we don't want to argue anymore. So that's a great way to kind of ease those tensions as well. Number 6, just say it. Let's both be right and hug it out. Sounds crazy, but it works. As soon as you concede and agree to compromise that both of you are right, everything's okay. All right, so these are some ideas, things you can do, right? So take them with a grain of salt. They may work for you, they may not work for you. But number 7, tell yourself that people who are right all the time can just be infuriating. Do you really want to be one of those people that have to be right all the time? Because I don't. Those people are super fucking annoying. They never shut up. And they always have something to say about every little thing. They're opinionated, and no one can ever be right when they're the ones that are right. Number 8, learn how to feel indignant without needing to start World War III. Let off some steam in a hot bath and then reassess the issue when you feel calmer. Guys, self-love, self-treatment, self-care is always a way to your heart and to really see the thing for what it is. Really, really take a cold, hard look at that argument and see if it's really worth your time. Number 9, think about something wonderful, like the best sex you guys ever had together or the holiday you're planning. Just something to remind yourself about how much you love each other. Number 10, tell yourself that if you win the argument an hour later, you're going to feel smug and self-satisfied and also miserable. And you probably won't be speaking to one another, but if you let it go now in an hour, you'll be glad you did. You guys will be in better moods. So just learn to let things go and just be a winner every time. Step number 9, we're going to talk about negotiation skills. Now, we brought this up earlier in the letting go section. But I really want to help you guys polish your negotiation skills today because they'll prove invaluable for your relationship. Many people think that negotiation is really about, beating the other person into the ground, making him or her give in and getting your own way. This is actually more like bulldozing, pile driving, and doesn't actually leave anyone, even the winner, feeling good. Negotiation is actually about compromise. But it's also about creating a win-win situation in which you both come out feeling like you have made your point, gained something, and felt good about yourself at the same time. Although vital to living with and loving each person, negotiation is only possible if you actually believe that you are both entitled to a satisfying solution, right? So you want to do this in favor of both of you, out of love and gratitude for both of you. Failing to negotiate leads to bitterness and resentment. The relationship will actually be out of balance and won't function properly, and you won't be happy if things go all your way or all your partners. So to begin, you must be willing to state your position, stand up for your rights, and defend your case firmly but flexibly, which means giving up playing victim or persecutor. When you feel sorry for yourself, expect to be argued down, or constantly give in, you're playing the role of the victim. When you steamroller your partner, behave aggressively, or expect to come out on top every single time, you actually become the persecutor. And neither of these roles is so much fun to play. So instead, choose to be the adult and negotiate. So a lot of people don't know how to do this. They thought that, steamrolling their partner or just giving in all the time or being the victim, that's negotiation, but it's actually not. So one of my favorite things to do, and we're going to go through the steps right now, but I call these guidelines for a good negotiation. But number one is choose a time when you're both in a reasonably good mood. And we talked about this with finances. Negotiation skills are needed there. When you're both in a good mood, then you can sit down and negotiate. Now, one of you may want to eat fast food a lot. Okay, we'll negotiate maybe 1 takeout order a week instead of 5. Number 2, make sure that there won't be any interruptions from your children, your dogs, your cats, or telephone calls, or Facebook, or email. Any of those things. Make sure you turn off all notifications. Put your pets to the side, turn the TV off, and give each other your full attention. Number 3, sit at an actual table. So this is going to help you feel more adult and businesslike, like you're doing an actual transaction. It also ensures that you and your partner are both on the same level. So this avoids one person sitting and the other standing, which, as some of you know or don't know, posturing is a big deal in any conversation, whether you're in a relationship with someone you're dating, or you're doing a business deal with somebody you have a business relationship with. Posturing can be a major part of negotiation. So make sure you're both on the same level and you both feel equal. Don't be on the couch in front of the TV. Number 4, take turns to put forward your case. Make sure that you really listen to one another, not just say, Don't listen to make a counter argument. Don't listen to find the holes in their argument to make your argument better. Listen and actually hear what they're saying. Listen with the objective of actually hearing what they're trying to tell you. Number 5, be willing to concede some points. You got to pick your battles, guys. Number 6, know your bottom line, the limit beyond which you won't bargain. Everyone has a bottom line, whether you're selling something like when I sell a hat, it's a $40 hat. I'm selling it for $25. My bottom line, the limit which I will not go past is, let's see, if I'm selling it for $25, my bottom line is going to be $18. I'm not going to go past $18. That's the $7 to play with. It's just like that in an argument. What's your bottom line? You got to come up with that. All right, number 7, put all possible solutions on the table. Number 8, if the discussion gets heated, take a break and come back later. Number 9, search for a solution that you can both live with that gives each of you a part of what you want, a compromise, in other words. Number 10, if that solution doesn't work, be willing to revisit the issue, come back to the table, and try to find a different one. Of course, there will always be non-negotiable points, and you have to decide what those are. However, negotiating on more flexible or less clear-cut, say, gray issues, and most things are many shades of gray rather than just black or white, it can actually prove mutually rewarding and revealing. So choose to believe that a solution can always be found. Starting out with that positivity is going to help your negotiating skills as a whole. Step 10, sort out sex. I told you guys it would get good. Sexy time. So let's break the ice here. Good sex is part of a good relationship. To be lovers as well as friends, you have to have sex. And if the sex is going to be wrong, the rest of the relationship will actually suffer too. So it's an important ingredient of any romantic love, and it's worth devoting time and effort and conversation to. So I have an exercise for you guys right off the bat. All right. And it's going to be in the PDF that's going to be on Patreon. So make sure you've already printed this off before you take this exercise. All right. So how would you rate your sex life on a scale of 1 to 10? If it's 8 or above, that's great. Think of today as just a refresher course, but any lower, then there's definite room for improvement. To do this, I first want you to identify what's going wrong. I'm going to list some common symptoms of less than satisfactory sex life. See if any of these scenarios sound familiar or apply to you too. 1, you are not satisfied, you don't have orgasms, or you have orgasms, but not much fun before or after them. Number 2, sex is always the same old routine and you're bored. Number 3, your partner doesn't really know how to turn you on. Number 4, you are not attracted to your partner or you feel that he or she isn't attracted to you. Number 5, one of you is too tired or you both are. Number 6, children always seem to interrupt. And guys, you can substitute animals here as well. Number 7, you've never really enjoyed sex. Number 8, there's always too much on your mind. Number 9, there are some things you don't like doing in bed, which upsets your partner so that you both become tense. If any of these apply to you and you know that you're going to have to work on it, don't worry. Sex often proves an easy area to improve in your relationship. So if you have had good sex in the past, then you know how marvelous it can be. It's just a question of rediscovering it. So if sex has never been great for the two of you, now's the time to make it be great. Loving and caring for each other will enable you to have great sex. In fact, the more relaxed and familiar you are with one another, the better the sex can be. It can become boring with time if you let it, but it can also get better and better every single day. So we're going to discuss a few procedures here on how to have great sex, okay? So number 1, get the scene right. Agree not to argue or discuss big issues in the bedroom. Keep your talk warm and loving there. So, don't bring up big things going on, or like if your parents are ill or something like that. Don't let that happen there. Make the room a beautiful place to be with soft sheets, candles, scents. Make sure it's clean, guys. Clutter can really dampen a mood. So if you've got shit everywhere and you're trying to get to the bed and you're falling over your shoes, clean that up. Make sure you don't have any clutter and it's a nice space that you want to hang out. Number 2, enjoy the build-up. Bathing together is nice, and making love to someone who is fresh and clean is even nicer. So watch a sexy video, not porn, easy now player, just a bit of lust. My lesbian friends out there, the L word. For you straight people, I'm not quite sure, but I know that there's probably videos out there. But, if you like, just make it a funny movie because laughing relaxes you and makes you feel happy. That's why Netflix and chill became such a monumental discovery this year and the years before, because people have a tendency to relax when they're watching these kinds of movies, get cuddly with each other, get closer, which leads to sex. Okay, number 3, put worries, stress, and children beyond the bedroom door and don't let them in. Use a lock on the door if possible, because sometimes, guys, your kids, hell, even my dog can open a door. It's ridiculous. So make sure you lock that door. It's just you two, right? Number 4, start slowly. Try massaging, stroking, or kissing each other all over. Don't go jumping right on in there, cowboy. Number 5, think sexy and you'll actually feel sexy. The sexiest part of you is your brain. So use fantasies of your best sex you've ever had, or of making love in outrageous places to stimulate your body's responses. You have to want it, guys. You have to start with a positive thought in mind. If you start out saying, this is going to be terrible, it's been terrible every time since, this is not going to work out, then yeah, you're right. Whatever you think, you're right. If you start out that way, you're 100% correct. Whatever you think, you're going to be right. So if you think it's going to be great sex, it will. If you don't, then you're right too. So be sure you start out with positive emotions towards it. Number 6, talk. Tell your partner how sexy he or she is, how much you fantasize about them, or how much you like them when they're doing whatever, And when you do in return, ask what he or she enjoys about you and do that one thing. So what do you love to do? What do you like when I do? Whatever it is, do that for them. Number 6, experiment. Without doing anything that makes you feel completely uncomfortable, explore something new, a new territory, such as like role